How does the event happen? And what happens after the event happens? If you want to know the truth, this video is for you. Stay connected with us by subscribing. This was not just another storm. This was Storm Leonardo, and it was about to rewrite lives in a matter of hours. From Ronda to the Guadalhorce Valley, from mountain villages to coastal roads in Mijas and Marbella, the same terrifying question spread from home to home. Will the water reach us next? This is extreme danger. Storm Leonardo unleashed one of the most disruptive weather emergencies in Andalusia, southern Spain, in early February 2026. Between February 3rd and 5th, the powerful storm brought torrential rainfall, widespread flooding, transport chaos, evacuations, and urgent safety warnings, forcing authorities to take extraordinary measures to protect lives and property. Before sunrise, the rivers of southern Spain turned into roaring monsters. Streets disappeared under muddy water. In just a few hours, Storm Leonardo transformed peaceful towns in Andalusia into emergency zones. Sirens echoed through flooded valleys. Rescue teams raced against rising waters. Schools closed, trains stopped, and thousands were forced to leave everything behind. Up to 250 millimeters of rain was crashing down in a single day. The ground, already soaked from months of rain, could no longer absorb anything. Every drop now meant destruction. Storm Leonardo's arrival coincided with an atmospheric river, an unusually strong, long-lasting stream of moisture coming from the Atlantic that fed intense rain bands into southern Spain. This setup meant rainfall was not only heavy but persistent, with AEMET, Spain's state meteorological agency, forecasting 200 to 250 millimeters of rain in just 24 hours in areas such as the Serranía de Ronda and Guadalquivir. Such amounts are exceptional and significantly exceed typical rainfall in the region. Because the ground was already saturated from a very wet winter, following record-breaking rains in January 2025-26, rivers and streams had little capacity left to absorb new water. As a result, streams quickly swelled, floodplains filled, and riverbanks overflowed. Emergency services repeatedly warned that even dry riverbeds could turn into raging torrents in minutes. In response to the looming danger, Andalusia's emergency authorities declared the highest state of emergency in the most affected areas, placing large parts of the region under AEMET's red alert for extreme danger. Red alerts indicate a risk to life and infrastructure and are only issued when severe weather is imminent and expected to be of exceptional intensity. Officials evacuated more than 3,000 people from flood-prone residential zones, particularly those near river valleys, such as the Guadalhorce Valley and areas around Ronda, where waters were expected to rise rapidly. Evacuations were largely precautionary but necessary as emergency services tracked rising water levels and accelerating runoff from the surrounding mountains. All schools in Andalusia were closed on February 4th, except those in the province of Almeria, to avoid unnecessary travel and exposure to unsafe conditions. Remote learning was adopted where possible. Rail services were severely disrupted, with the national operator Renfe suspending most suburban and regional trains across the region. Landslides, track flooding, and unstable sections forced cancellations of both commuter and longer-distance services, including parts of the high-speed network. Road closures were widespread as heavy rainfall, landslides, and surface flooding made travel dangerous. Dozens of local and secondary roads were cut, and authorities urged all residents to avoid non-essential travel and be especially careful near rivers and waterways. The storm also triggered more than 750 emergency responses across Andalusia, including flooded homes, fallen trees, and landslides. Emergency services, fire brigades, civil protection teams, the Guardia Civil, and even military units worked around the clock to assist communities, rescue stranded residents, and manage evacuations. In coastal areas such as Mijas, floodwaters washed away sections of coastal roads, leaving infrastructure damaged and travel impossible in some zones. In Marbella, rescue teams pulled drivers from vehicles trapped in deep floodwaters as conditions deteriorated rapidly. High risk levels were declared for major river basins, including the Guadalquivir and other waterways. With water levels rising quickly, authorities urged residents to stay well back from riverbanks, avoid walking or driving through floodwater, and follow official instructions broadcast through emergency alert systems. The emergency came almost 18 months after historically severe flooding in Valencia in October 2024, which caused devastating damage and loss of life. Forecasters noted that the already saturated soils, saturated from record rains in early 2025-26, made the region especially vulnerable to Leonardo's intense precipitation. As Storm Leonardo continued its passage across southern Spain, officials warned that even after the heaviest rain eased, risks would remain high due to lingering flooding, saturated soils prone to landslides, and swollen rivers that could stay at dangerous levels for days. Emergency services remained on high alert, urging all residents to cooperate with evacuation orders and safety advisories to minimize risk. In summary, Storm Leonardo was one of the most disruptive weather events of the winter in Andalusia, showing how powerful atmospheric systems, combined with already saturated conditions, can trigger extreme flooding, widespread evacuations, and major disruptions to transport and daily life. The full impacts continued to unfold as authorities worked to protect communities and restore normality.
Hostia, ha reventado esto también, me cago en la madre que parió.